We get the most conservative president ever, and we get a $220 billion deficit, and we add 140,000 new people into his bureaucracy. There's something seriously wrong with the philosophy.
Truth is treason in an empire of lies when we live in an empire of lies.
Tyrants reward your compliance with more tyranny.
It's the bipartisanship of the welfare system, the warfare system, the monetary system, the challenge to our civil liberties. It all goes through with support from both parties. So there's way too much bipartisanship. This should be a challenge of the issue of philosophy, good philosophy versus bad philosophy. I'm glad to see the revolution is continuing.
What should government do?
Protect our freedoms, have a strong national defense, look and take care of our borders, have a sound currency.
It's been going on a long time, so many young people here, I think you're realizing you're getting a bad rap for what you're inheriting. You'd like a much better deal, and the better deal can be found in less government and only sending people to Washington who have actually read the Constitution or will obey the Constitution and take their oath of office seriously.
I'm honored to represent the great people of Kentucky's 4th Congressional District. I'll be a staunch defender of the Constitution, an unwavering advocate for personal liberties, economic freedom, and fiscal responsibility. I look forward to working with all of the members of this House of Congress to advance these great American principles, thereby ensuring a prosperous future for our country. Thank you, and may God bless America.
The Constitution confirms and confers with what I'm saying. There is no authority in the Constitution to have a Federal Reserve system, no authority for the welfare state, and no authority for the police state. It's not there. In an age where civil liberties are poorly protected, we have a Patriot Act that has canceled out the Fourth Amendment. We have had a bill, the National Defense Authorization Act, which now permits the arrest of American citizens by the military without a trial and put in prison indefinitely. That is not part of what America is all about, and those laws have to be repealed if we want to live in a true republic. Our government is too big. The bigger a government gets, the smaller our liberties become. Government is way too big, and that is why we're losing our liberties. We're losing our economic liberties as well as our personal liberties.
Some of my colleagues today will offer a bill to reauthorize the Patriot Act. It'll have the thin varnish of reform on it, designed to whitewash the egregious constitutional violations that have been going on. But it's the Americans who are going to be shellacked by this legislation and the process used to pass it. I want to read the Fourth Amendment and part of the Fifth Amendment here today on the floor to the Constitution. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. And the Fifth Amendment says, nor shall any person be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So let's think about some of these words, because they're being treated as if they're curse words or dirty words today. Warrant, due process, probable cause. These are all things that are guaranteed as rights for all Americans in the Constitution. And none of those can be guaranteed without transparency. We can't have star chambers and kangaroo courts. This has to happen in daylight, and it has to be reviewable by the people in order to know that these things are true.
Today we have it turned upside down. We don't have privacy, but we have too much secrecy in government. We need much more openness of government and much more protection of our privacy as individuals.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to implore my fellow congressmen to wake up. Can't we see what's happening? In just the past month, we discovered that the NSA is snooping on millions of innocent Americans using the Patriot Act. But Congress wrote the Patriot Act. The IRS is targeting conservative organizations using the tax code. But Congress created the tax code. And the DHS has stockpiled 200 million hollow point bullets. Congress just funded the DHS last week. Do you want me to be surprised? I'm not surprised. I'm outraged. But what's happening here? In each case of executive overreach, Congress gave an inch, and the executive branch took a mile. When our civil liberties are stolen, Congress investigates and expresses righteous indignation. But all too often, Congress then turns around and funds and enables this unconstitutional behavior. If we don't reverse this trend, we can kiss our civil liberties goodbye. The Constitution embodies American principles that men and women fought and died for, to protect. We swore an oath to protect it. Mr. Speaker, I encourage my colleagues to reflect on the damage that CISPA, the Patriot Act, and the NDAA have wrought on our civil liberties, and implore my fellow members to uphold the constitutional rights they swore to protect.
Gentleman's
Don't
time's
yield an
expired.
inch.
You know, under wartime conditions, people generally get more careless about their civil liberties, and that is what's happened in this country. We have permitted our government to undermine our civil liberties, all in the name of safety and security. But we were told at the founding of this country that you should never sacrifice your liberties for safety or security, because you'll end up with neither. This is the reason I have come to the conviction you never have to sacrifice your liberty if you want to be safe. Never. You know, there's one general rules about what we should expect from government. There is, the First Amendment is a great amendment. Freedom of expression is protected. The government shall write no laws in reference to our freedom of expression. It doesn't say that we are to have an expression of only the non-controversial ideas. It's freedom of expression. Now, most people are pretty good on the First Amendment, but where they slip up is they say the government should write no laws about the freedom of activity. So they want to talk, the liberals want to talk about how to regulate your economic activity and how you spend your money, and others want to regulate your personal lifestyle. But government should not be regulating us, and we should adapt one other principle for that to work. We should all swear off the use of violence against our neighbors, our friends, or our other countries. There's been talk lately about American exceptionalism. Man, we like to talk about that. I think we certainly live in an exceptional country. We have been blessed. It's been the greatest country, most freedom, most prosperity. My concern is I'm afraid we're losing it. I'm afraid we've given up on our devotion to liberty. That's where our problem is. But you know where I think we go astray on this exceptionalism is there's some people, and sometimes they're referred to as neoconservatives, and they're sort of neo-Jacobins, where they believe that we have this moral responsibility to use force to go around the world and say, you will do it our way or else. Well, force doesn't work. It never works. The best way to get people to act more like us if we're doing a good job is for us to have a sound economy, a sound dollar, treat people decently, have a foreign policy that makes common sense, treat people like we want to be treated, and then maybe they would want to emulate us and say, freedom does work and we ought to try it. But we can't force it on other people.
The government can't tell you, we can't legislate morality. Okay. And also, we also sometimes create legislation that's immoral. Okay. And in that, like vaccine mandates, the notion that somebody could force a needle into another person's body, it was sort of an IQ test, but a lot of smart people fell for it. Mm-hmm. It was in more ways a compliance test. Like, yeah. This is a test. Are you cattle or are you sovereign people? We kind of, unfortunately, a lot of people became just compliant. Mm-hmm. And tyrants reward your compliance with more tyranny. People say you need small acts of random kindness. I think you need small acts of random non-compliance.
It used to be that conservatives were against foreign aid. I'm still against foreign aid for everybody.
Turns out that I've never voted for foreign aid. And in fact,
for Israel?
for Israel, for Egypt, for Ukraine.
For anybody.
For anybody. In fact, I've offered amendments as soon as I got to Congress in 2013. I had an amendment to defund the foreign aid to Egypt, which seemed like a good idea at the time because they were in the middle of a coup. This is how ridiculous our foreign aid is. We didn't even know who was going to control the Capitol. There were tanks in the streets. We didn't know who the leader was. And my colleagues insisted on sending the billions of dollars to Egypt anyway. The question is, who's going to cash the check when it gets there?
Now, I have a saying that I've used to describe foreign aid. Foreign aid is taking money from the poor people of a rich country and giving it to the rich people of a poor country. And there can't be a better example of that than what we did with Egypt. We took money from you, made people poorer, it contributed to our debt, billions and billions of dollars, and all we get is chaos from it and instability. There's nothing wrong with what the founders talked about. They talked about having friendships and trading, getting along with people, and staying out of the entangling alliance in the internal affairs of foreign nations when it's none of our business.
So I've got a complete track record of voting against all foreign aid.
Now, we've been doing it for a long time, and you get periods of relative stability. There was relative stability when we were propping up the Shah, but it ended up with bad results. We ended up with the Ayatollah, and now we have a problem on our hands. But all of the Middle East is unstable because of this. Now it's Tunisia, next it's Egypt, and it's going to keep going because all the problems are there because the people don't like us propping up their dictators no more than we would like it if a foreign country came in here and propped up a dictator in our country.
But it turns out there's one lobby that's very upset about that, and that's the Israeli lobby. And so you're right, this is a referendum. It's a referendum. The question we're putting to the people is, are you going to let a foreign country or lobbyists for that foreign country buy a seat in Kentucky and displace the one congressman who will tell you what's in the bills, who will explain his votes? I explain all of my votes, especially on controversial bills, on social media to where anybody can see.
There are still powerful special interests in Washington and around the country who want power. Power is the seductive issue that tempts people in both parties and all politics. So what we want, wanting our liberty, means we want to diminish the power of government and give the power and the control back to the people. The right to your life means you defend your right to run your life as you so choose, and you also have your economic liberty to take care of your property and work and keep the fruits of your labor. It's all one issue.
When seeking office is done for personal aggrandizement, money, or power, it becomes useless if not harmful. When political action is taken for the right reasons, it's easy to understand why compromise should be avoided. It's also become clear why progress is best achieved by working with coalitions, which bring people together without anyone sacrificing his principles. Political action, to be truly beneficial, must be directed toward changing the hearts and minds of the people, recognizing that it's virtue and morality of the people that allow liberty to flourish. The Constitution or moral laws per se have no value if the people's attitudes aren't changed. To achieve liberty and peace, two powerful human emotions have to be overcome. Number one is envy, which leads to hate and class warfare. Number two is intolerance, which leads to bigoted and judgmental policies. These emotions must be replaced with a much better understanding of love, compassion, tolerance, and free market economics. Freedom, when understood, brings people together. When tried, freedom is popular. The problem we have faced over the years has been that economic interventionists are swayed by envy, whereas social interventionists are swayed by intolerance or of habits and lifestyles. The misunderstanding that tolerance is an endorsement of certain activity motivates many to legislate moral standards which should only be set by individuals making their own choices. Both sides use force to deal with these misplaced emotions. Both are authoritarians. Neither endorses voluntarism. Both views ought to be rejected. I have come to one firm conviction after these many years of trying to figure out the plain truth of things. The best chance for achieving peace and prosperity for the maximum number of people worldwide is to pursue the cause of liberty. If you find this to be a worthwhile message, spread it throughout the land. And I yield back the balance of my time.
Back.